In my opinion, Joseph Parker is more than overdue a title shot. He should have had a title shot back in February. We all know he was penciled in to face Daniel Dubois. No fault of Joseph Parker's. That fight didn't happen. I do obviously tend to believe that Dubois was genuinely, legitimately sick. So, something happens. You know the word. But he is next in line. The WBO mandatory, which is long overdue, and the mandatories as a whole over the last couple of years, this is where the rematches really, this is where the problem with rematches really start to rear their ugly head, because the mandatory system is in place with all the sanctioning bodies. Some of them are definitely a lot better with it than others. The WBO and the IBF come to mind as being particularly good with their mandatories. The WBA and WBC not so much. But nevertheless, the mandatory system is there if you are fighting and paying sanction fees, mind you, to these sanctioning bodies. You're winning fights, you're winning eliminators, you go up the rankings, and eventually you get your mandatory crack. The mandatory has some advantages. It's better than the voluntary. You're not obliged to sign a rematch clause. You get a guaranteed kind of split of the purse. I think it's 25, roughly thereabouts, depending on the organization. It can be as high as maybe 25, 20. Well, you get what I mean. It's definitely better to be a mandatory or an interim champion, which is a glorified mandatory, than it is to be a voluntary challenger, because then there's rematch clauses and stuff like that. But over the last couple of years, certainly at heavyweight, rematch clauses in unifications, even in mandatories, if you count the AJ Usyk fight, the first one, it's caused a lot of backlog. It definitely has. It's caused a lot of fights or shots to be, the can essentially being kicked down the road. We've had 3 mandatory challengers with the with the WBO: Joe Joyce, Zhilei Zhang, and Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker being the latest. None of them have got their title shot because they knew they'd be waiting on the sidelines. Similar with the IBF, Filip Hrgovic, it's in an interim title that goes to Dubois. You see what I mean? So now the WBO are ordering their mandatory and expect more mandatories to get called. You would imagine anyway. WBO have their mandatory ordered, and it's Joseph Parker. They've given parties 30 days to negotiate it, but ultimately I would imagine Joseph Parker won't get that shot, purely because Riyadh season, for whatever reason, don't seem interested again for whatever reason in that fight. They're probably not going to put the funds up for it, at which point then does the fight become feasible to make, essentially does it? Because you would expect that Team Usyk would want that, and probably Team Parker as well, would want it out in Riyadh, or they would want the Saudis' involvement, they'd want to be well paid, and without that, the fight just doesn't seem feasible. So what then does that mean for Joseph Parker? A complaint that he has had is that inactivity has been a problem for him, and it certainly has. I mean, this is a guy who in the year 2023, in 2022 he fought once, and that was against Joe Joyce. He obviously lost that fight, was taken out in the 11th round, spectacular knockout as well. That was probably peak Joe Joyce, but that peak just downhill flat out. He fought in 2021, Jack Massey. Didn't look good in that fight, to be honest with you. Fought a guy in Australia. I'm going to butcher that name, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But he fought in Australia 5 months later, and then he fought Simon Keane and then Deontay Wilder. So in the space of just over a year, there's 5 fights in there in just over a year. It's very rare we see that nowadays, certainly with a fighter of Joseph Parker's level, who is a world level fighter. We know that. It's very seldom you see that, albeit the competition is not amazing in between. Jack Massey, no offense to him, he's a cruiserweight, and he's obviously been stopped by Jaya Pataya, cruiserweight. Don't even know who that other guy was. Simon Keane's done nothing before and nothing since. Has he even done anything since? No, he's not fought since that Parker fight. That was a devastating loss as well. But you see what I mean. There's not stellar opposition in there, but it's activity. That's important. Since then, he fought Wilder at the back end of 23, went straight into 24, fought Zhang, out of the ring for, as nearest makes no difference, a year, a fortnight off it being a year, so, essentially 50 weeks. And that was Martin Bakole. There's no sign of fights being announced. We don't know what's going on with Joseph Parker. And that to me is a problem, especially Joseph Parker's even acknowledging the fact that it's a problem. He certainly has earned his fight. He's earned his title shot. He's probably going to get elevated to full champion. But what does that mean now for him if certainly a fight like Alexander Usyk, which is a fight personally for me I'd quite like to watch. I'd like to see it. It'd be interesting. What now if the Saudis are not willing to put up the money for that one? what path is Joseph Parker going to have to go down now in order to get the big fights that I think he deserves at this point? You would say the logical opponent would be someone like an Adja Kabayel. They're both Queensberry fighters. But I wonder now with Parker, the fact that it's probably not going to be, things can change, who knows, but it's probably not going to be Alexander Usyk. What does that mean? Does that mean he's going to be in the wilderness then again, a heavyweight? Is he going to have to essentially wait and see what happens with Alexander Usyk, what he does next? Is he going to have to go and take the short end of the stick against certain guys? I asked that question because truthfully I don't know. I suspect, and again this is only me speculating, thinking out loud here, that should he be elevated to full champion, given the fact that he's a Queensberry fighter, given the fact that Frank Warren is desperate to make a star out of young Moses Atelma, and I think he's doing that successfully, by the way. I think Atelma is definitely becoming a star. He will probably look to feed him to Joseph Parker, or feed Joseph Parker to him, vice versa. I think it's a competitive fight. I like it, but I think Joseph Parker deserves a big fight. Yeah, you could say Atelma is a big fight, but I certainly think he deserves that Alexander Usyk fight. He deserves his chance. And to be honest with you, I would be very critical of Alexander Usyk. Not so much if he vacates. If he vacates the title, then all right, I get it. Fair enough. I mean, I can understand that, right? If you vacate it, you vacate it. But if you vacate it to then go and say give a rematch to Tyson Fury or say an Anthony Joshua, which I think that one is probably more unlikely. But if he does go down that road of giving him a trilogy fight, or either of those a trilogy fight, I think that's just a cash grab. And I'm not going to excuse Alexander Usyk for doing that, because that's just ridiculous if he does do that for either of the guys, quite frankly. So I wonder what's going to happen with Joseph Parker now. Is he going to be one of these guys where he's had his good run, he's made his money in the Saudi shows, he hasn't set the world alight, albeit he did do that against Martin Bakole, but for all the wrong reasons. You know, it's not, we've been there, seen it and done it with Bakole. We know what happened going into that fight. But he hasn't set the world alight in previous performances, it has to be said. But should that matter, really, if you're getting the job done? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I felt the need to talk about this because I feel Joseph Parker is one of the best heavyweights in the world. He may be second best behind Alexander Usyk now at this point in his career. And I think that really is, you know, I truthfully, I really didn't think there was any coming back from the Joe Joyce defeat. Given the fact it was the first stoppage defeat of his career, he took some heavy shots. I thought that was going to take some serious coming back from him. He did. And he has earned a title shot. He may be elevated to full champion. That's very nice. 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. But I think he deserves that Usyk fight. I really do. It's a shame that you're reading that, you know, Ring Magazine or Riyadh Season Seller don't want to have any interest or involvement in it. You're like, why? It's a good fight. What, you'd rather him have a trilogy with Fury or Joshua? Really? No, I wouldn't. I know the casuals probably would, to be fair. They'd lap it up. But you know what I mean. I think Parker deserves it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. If you could, as always, smash the like button, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. Until next time.